on the inside of row 2, and the front row, JDX Racing on is Parker Thompson for JDX Racing, and Riley Dickinson, who qualified through his second best time in that qualifying session earlier on this week. That's the number 53, another Kelly Moss road and race machine. Hello everybody, I'm John Hindhaugh. Jeremy Shaw is with me in the Haggerty Global Broadcast Centre, and delighted to be bringing you live, free, unblocked coverage wherever you are in the world. We know you love Porsche racing, and yesterday's was an absolute cracker. Let's just relive what went on yesterday. It was Trenton Estep who led from the start. Efren Castro, who is the defending champion in his category, was spun in traffic. Then Parker Thompson went through into the lead in the JDX Racing, the Porsche with the shell livery. Dimitri Dimakos in the black number 11, turned around by Michael McCarthy. Marco Cironi then went to the Pro-Am lead over Justin Oakes, who was struggling for grip at the end of the race. Mark Kavame won the AM category in the number 43, but overall at the front of the field there was no stopping Parker Thompson, the Canadian, taking victory yesterday. Question is, can Thompson do it from the outside of the front row today, Jeremy? That was a cracking race, and what we saw yesterday is that you really do have to look after the tyres early on. The Michelin tyres are very good. This is a difficult surface to set the car up for. It doesn't have a lot of grip, which means the cars move around. And Justin Oakes, well, he suffered from that yesterday. He was bossing the Pro-Am at Championship, finished well down, didn't even get anywhere near the podium.
No, and I was chatting with him earlier this morning. He said the car was just undrivable at the end of the race. He knew about tyre degradation here before, but he didn't realise it was as bad as that. He said the last 4 laps he was just hanging on for life. There was massive understeer, just could not get the car turned into the corner. Didn't really help probably that he unfortunately had to miss the test day that took place here. Right here at this track, right after the Long Beach weekend. So he came in here this weekend having not driven a Porsche on Michelin tyres here at Laguna. He'd only had one season of racing previously. He did race here at WeatherTech Raceway last year in a Trans Am, but a very different car.
So on the warm-up lap behind the safety car, we mentioned the first 2 rows. Let's tell you about the other categories. 3 different classes. The cars are the same. It's the drivers that are categorised effectively. Pro-Am is led by Alan Metney in the number 99 iFly Kelly Moss racing car. He's got Efren Castro, who's had no luck this year, the 65, the black and purple Kelly Moss car. Behind them, Justin Oakes in the multicoloured Droneworks Nola Sport car, then Marco Cironi, who won yesterday. In AM, Mark Kwame for MDK Motorsports is ahead of the JDX Racing number 4, the Hanley car. Then John Getz for Wright Motorsports, they're the top 3, and Bill Smith in the bright orange number 42 top racing car makes up the top 4. A lot of people really giving their rear Michelin tyres are working out, including Parker Thompson at the top of the corkscrew. It is early morning, track temperature sitting around 63 Fahrenheit, which is 17 Celsius. That's pretty chilly for the tyres, and in fact, just to underline that, we've had Tom Collingwood in the BGB Motorsports 69 Pro-Am car with the blue wing end plates, headlight tints and numbers. He spun around and now will have to start from the back of the field. He was supposed to be in 24th position. By the way, Hutton McKenna not starting in his Wright Motorsport number 88 Porsche after problems yesterday. 40 minutes on the clock and we are ready to go racing for the second time this weekend. Porsche Carrera Cup North America, presented by visitcaymanisland.com, is at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. We are green. Riley Dickinson from pole position under extreme pressure from alongside on his right hand side. Brilliant outbraking manoeuvre around the outside, but the first 2 cars both drift wide. But Parker Thompson, the man who won yesterday and got his 2022 win account underway, has swept round the outside and in the lead behind them. Bill Smith's involved in an accident with Marco Cironi. Cironi's in there as well, the man who won yesterday in his category, in the Pro-Am category. Now, what was he doing all the way down there? I wonder if he's had a spin and then got taken out as Bill came through. That might have been 2 accidents. Yeah, I think it was. Cironi spins on his own, and then Bill Smith had spun in avoidance and sort of reverses towards him, but there was no contact between those two. But Cironi, one of the leading lights in Pro-Am, winner yesterday, he's going to have a big comeback drive, and we're barely 2 minutes into this one, Jeremy.
Yeah, what a great start once again there for Parker Thompson, taking advantage of all his experience on this racetrack here. Got a lot of time here in the junior open wheel categories over the years, and taking full advantage of that. A bold move around the outside line there, and Riley Dickinson did a good job, just to, gave him just enough room. He didn't make it easy for him, but it was a super move, and Parker Thompson in the lead then for JDX Racing. We've now had 25 Porsche Carrera Cup North America races, and so far 22 of them have been run by Kelly Voss, and yesterday was the 4th win for JDX Racing. So 17 of them, 17 of them for Kelly Voss, and yesterday was the 4th for JDX.
So at the front of the field, and Parker Thompson trying to get away. He's got 0.8 of a second. There is a incident under review. Starts under review. That's normal procedure. The Cironi and Bill Smith incident is under review. I don't think those cars came together. I think they were 2 separate incidents, but that's what race control will be trying to find out. Marco Cironi started up in the 15th position. Bill Smith was down in the late 20s, so I think we said actually about 24th or 25th. Bill, he came along after Cironi had already been spun around. Now, that's not to say there wasn't another car involved. I just don't think it was the 42, the bright orange, the Kung Fu car. Thompson then leading out. It was a well-judged race. We find ourselves seeing this quite a lot, Jeremy, in Porsche Carrera Cup North America, but it was a well-judged race by Parker Thompson yesterday when he got closed down by Trent and Estep. Estep was very savvy, dropped back a second and a half, cooled off his Michelin tyres and then came again, but Thompson still had something for him at the end, and he's controlling this race as well.
Indeed he is, and he was careful yesterday not to push too hard too soon. He managed that race absolutely expertly yesterday, because at one stage in the race he came under pressure from Trent and Estep, then he pulled away again towards the closing stages, so he managed it really nicely and came away with a really well-deserved victory. But it was that bold move on the first lap yesterday that won him that race, and is that move at the first corner today going to be decisive as well? Yesterday the move was at turn 3, this time it was at turn 2.
36 minutes to go.
Good start in Pro-Am by Efren Castro, who's into the lead of the Pro-Am class now in 12th position overall. Right behind him, also making a good start, is Justin Oates, who was stellar yesterday, and he's already set a second faster than Efren Castro in the early stages. He's absolutely flying, is Justin Oates, in that kind of a 47 for Nola Sport. And Alan Metney, the pole sitter today, down in 3rd position in Pro-Am.
Yeah, keep an eye on the Pro-Am cars, because there's every opportunity. They are the same specification of cars. There's every opportunity for them to climb up into the bottom end of the top 10. That's what we've been seeing. Good battle going on between Dimitri Demakos and the black number 11. Had to have a real comeback drive after he was spun round by Michael McCarthy yesterday. Ended up down in the late 20s. Finished just outside the top 10, I think, from memory. I don't think it made any difference to his points haul in the Pro, but my goodness, he passed a lot of car to get there. Real sensation, this young man. And he's being pressed at the moment by Michael McCarthy again. So these two who came together on the track yesterday, deja vu for them. in behind them. That's the battle for 6th and 7th, by the way. Baron Troxy for Wright Motorsport in the number 13. And then Top Racing's number 77 is Travis Wiley, man from Austin, Texas. And those four in pretty close company there. There's a little bit of a gap breaking those two into two pairs at the moment. At the front of the field, it's down to just half a second. Riley Dickinson with a 26.0 last time around against a 26.3 for Parker Thompson. I'm not reading too much into that at the moment, Jeremy. Again, these early laps, particularly I think in these cold air temperatures, are going to be really important to tyre longevity as the cars burn off some of that race fuel in the end of the race. And judging that is a real skill that these drivers are learning.
Yeah, very definitely so. The fastest lap of the race was set by Riley Dickinson on the previous lap 3, who now competed lap 4. Just looking at the pace of yesterday's race, pretty similar. It's a couple of tenths of a second slower at this stage than was the case yesterday. But again, it's a lot cooler outside. It's I don't think it's even 50 degrees Fahrenheit, so it's pretty chilly out there. But as you already said, we can see these cars sliding around. They're already building some temperature in them. And Parker Thompson, saw his car sliding, sort of twitching as he turned into turn 11 last time around. He's coming down the hill now, and he's definitely on the edge with that car. But Riley Dickinson is hot on his heels.
Dickinson now ramping up the pressure at turn 11 as they come round to complete lap number 5. This is a time certain race, so the 40 minutes elapses and the checkered flag comes out after that. As we get down to the last couple of laps, we'll know exactly how many laps there are going to be. And at the moment, the lap times very consistent at the front of the field. 26.2 from the leader, 26.0 from Dickinson, so he's taken about half a second out. New driver's door from Efren Castro, the number 65 car. Or if it's not a new door, at least the wrap, the purple and black wrap, has been taken off that car actually he's got a new rear bumper as well, so I bet it is a new door. After his issues yesterday when he was bumped out of contention fairly early on, he has had what can only be described as an up and down season. Actually, it's been more downs than up, Efren, after a cracking year last year when the title went right to the last round at Motul Petit Le Mans and the Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta. That's, as yet, he hasn't really fired up his 2022 season, and he's going to have to keep his head here. He does lead by half a second or so from the Nola Sport DroneWorks multicoloured car.
Yeah, it's a good battle there. There's 3 cars nose to tail in Pro-Am, and right directly ahead of him is Grant Torquay in the ACI Motorsports car number 81. He's one of the pro contenders. There's a challenge here for Riley Dickinson coming out of the hairpin and alongside and through into 3rd place. Goes the championship leader Kai Van Berlo over Trenton Estet. That happened at the Mario Andretti hairpin.
Been a quiet weekend so far by the young Dutchman who moved to the US for his education, living down in Florida now, Miami area, and managed to pick up some driving. Had done quite a bit of driving back in Europe. It's not as if he was a rookie, but that wasn't the main reason that he came to the USA. It was to go to college here, and was able to combine that with his motor racing. And my goodness, what a year he had last year. 2nd in the championship, challenging all the way through. One non-finish at VIR that really took him out of the championship contention. Didn't have a great weekend at the Porsche Together Festival at Indianapolis Motor Speedway either, but pushing Sebastian Priaulx, the eventual winner, all the way to the end of last year, and wants to go one better this year, and he started in the best possible way. So Van Berlo now up 1 position to 3rd, has the leaders in sight. His teammate Riley Dickinson is immediately ahead of him. The Kelly Moss cars in the white with green stripes of the livery of the Children's Fund.
Yeah, and look how much closer Kai van Berlo is now to those two leaders. He's already dropped Trentin Estep by about a second on that last lap. And he is now, whoops, there's a spin for Justin Oates. Larry Andretti hairpin just clips, I think. Yeah, that's Alan Metney.
Metney came through, and there was a clip there. So that's Oaks and Metney. They were second and third in Pro-Am. So that's Efren Castro now up the road, and Kurt Swearingen, who'd been in that battle as well, is going to come through into second place. Castro defending, and it was Metney that hit the back of the number 47 of Justin Oaks as they were going in, and then not getting on the brakes, Justin, just drifting backwards, returned the favour, unintentionally I'm sure, and caught the left rear of Alan Metney's iFly Kelly Moss race car. So that's really thrown a cat among the pigeons in Pro-Am. Castro's going to have a big lead from Swearingen, and I reckon that's going to put Pedro Torres up to third for ACI Motorsports in Pro-Am.
Yeah, that's another good run then for Pedro. He's putting together some good results already this season. This is his first season at this sort of level, but he's doing a good job in that ACI car, number 16. Nice and consistent lap times by our race leader, Riley Dickinson, and we've got the three cars now nose to tail in that battle for the lead. Kai van Berlo right with them. Trentin Estep, he's not too far behind. He's a second and a half back at early stages in this race, and he knows as well as anybody that tyre degradation is going to affect everybody at some stage. And if you can just be patient at this stage, Trentin Estep in that third position, he knows he's got a fast car, put it on the pole position yesterday for the first race, and he was quick yesterday as well. It was Trentin Estep who set the fastest lap of the race, 125.7, which, by the way, is within 3/4 of a second of the fastest race lap record for the WeatherTech series. That's how quick these cars are. If he could be patient now, look after his tyres, maybe those leaders will come back to him in the later stages of this 40-minute race.
Alan Metney is limping his iFly right motorsport car back to the pit lane with left rear damage. I think he either has wheel, tyre, suspension, or all of the above damage on that car, but he is trying to get it back. Just trying to see if Justin has continued. Yes, he has, and continues in fourth position, although at a distance, about 13 seconds, about 7 seconds, excuse me, behind a third place now in Pro-Am, which is Pedro Torres. Checking the other classes, it's been a change around in Am as well. Mark Kawame no longer leads that category. That is Robert Hanley for JDX Racing by about half a second, and John Getz in third as Matt Holcomb in the Mystery Machine car between himself and those two leaders.
That's exactly right, John. In fact, Rob Hanley did take the lead at the start. He's led all the way through so far, but it's looking very good in these early stages then for JDX Racing, the team based out of Colorado, with Harrison Bricks and Jeremy Dale, the team principals there. They're running in the overall lead with Parker Thompson, trying to make it two in a row. And Rob Hanley, who had some misfortune yesterday, bouncing back nicely to lead from Mark Kawame. Not by very much, he's only about a half a second ahead of him. It was a good battle with 4 or 5 cars in there. John Getz isn't too far behind him as well for Wright Motorsports in car number 57.
A cracking race so far. Very evenly matched, these cars and drivers. Remember, this is only the second year of Porsche Carrera Cup North America, presented by visitCaymanislands.com. We've had GT3 Cup Challenge in the past, elevated to Carrera Cup status last year. And I think it's fair to say that both Jeremy and I were a little worried. I don't mind eating a fair slice of humble pie on how well this went last year and how well it's going this year. Going to a full pro format at the front of the field, it was in some ways it was a little bit of a gamble for Porsche Motorsport North America, but they clearly had read the temperature of their clients very, very well. And there are enough young pro drivers with support to be able to come through and populate a class of 14 cars this weekend in the pros.
the guy who's on the move here in these still relatively early stages in this race. We've got 24 minutes remaining, 15 minutes into the race, and it's car number 7, which is Michael McCarthy in the third of the Children's Hospital Kelly Moss cars. Car number 7, he started in 6th position, lost a couple of places at the start, but in recent laps he's overtaken both of the 311 RS Motorsports cars. Firstly, Dimitri Demarcos pulled away quickly from him. He's also now just got past Lee Keane as well. So car number 7 back into 6th place and right on the tail of TJ Fisher for Top Racing in car number 58 as this 3-car battle continues at the front, and maintaining pace right with them is Trenton Estep in 4th position.
Coming down towards half distance then, and a little mistake was it there by Parker Thompson. Drops his left rear Michelin into the dirt at the exit of turn 3. Hasn't seemed to slow him down, but the top 3 very much together now as they're on lap 12. 23 and a half to go. Trenton Estep just a couple of seconds further back, not able to latch on at the moment to the battling trio at the front of the field as they go up the rear hull straight towards the corkscrew. Didn't seem to slow Parker Thompson down at all. If anything, he may have just stretched away a little bit from Riley Dickinson. Maybe Riley was distracted by the shower of sand that was thrown up from the back of the leader's car ahead of him. Van Berlo is right there. You'll notice there's slight differences if you're trackside or watching the worldwide feed between the second and third cars, the 53 and the 3. Riley Dickinson has the reddy orange flashes on the front and rear spoilers underneath the bumper area. It's all green for Kai van Berlo, and their other teammate Michael McCarthy, well, he's got another colour on his car. I think it's blue from memory on that car.
And you're right, that little slip there for Parker Thompson cost him a couple of tenths of a second, but on the previous 6 laps they were all within, well, yeah, a tenth of a second. The previous 6 laps, all within a tenth of a second of each other around this 2.238 mile racetrack. So that's pretty consistent. That's exactly what Parker Thompson needs to do at this stage. Not get that car sliding too much, just try and be consistent, make sure he keeps the gaps closed and doesn't allow any room for a pass by Riley Dickinson or, right behind him, Guy van Berlo.
Plenty of action all the way down through the fields. And the 3-class system means you've always got somebody to battle against, either in class or on the overall. And keeping an eye on what's going on at the front of the arm field, where the mostly white and silver
it's a good battle.
JDX car is leading, but they're in traffic, Jeremy, and in some ways that's the good and the bad thing. They're in traffic with other people who aren't necessarily in their class. They've got the Premier Racing car right ahead of them.
What's happened to Kai van Berlo? Because he lost all of a sudden, he lost quite a bit of time. He lost a position on that. He just gained it back again at Mario Andretti hairpin, but somewhere on that last lap there was a slip of some sort for the 3rd place car. As I say, he's regained it again now, but he's quite a long way behind the front 2 all of a sudden.
Yeah, car looks a bit dusty on the right rear, so maybe just pushing a little bit too hard or trying to get close to Riley Dickinson. And these cars do have aero on the front. Matt Holcomb just going a little bit wide into the Andretti hairpin. He's in the blue and green Mystery Machine coloured car, because that only works if you know all about Scooby-Doo. We need more Hanna-Barbera livery cars in all forms of racing, I think. It's the 55 car that I'm talking about. Matt is 5th in Pro-Am, 20th overall, and he's got a grandstand view of that great battle that's going on between Robert Handley, who leads the AM class, and Mark Kawame for MDK Motorsport is 2nd. So 4 and 43, 1st and 2nd in AM. Then that 55 Pro-Am machine basically having a good look at what's going on. He's got John Getz behind him in the 57. That's the purple and silver car. That's another Wright Motorsport machine, and that is the third car in that AM battle. In fact, John's put the fastest lap in the AM category with a 1:28.7. He'll be delighted with that. Just following.
Yeah, he's done well. He's had a good season as John Getz. He's been competitive at all the races. A little bit of bad luck in one or two of them, but he's very much in the thick of that championship battle in AM. Mark Kawami leads it. He's won 4 of the 5 races, but he's still only 22 points ahead of John Getz in second position. Bill Smith is only 5 points behind him in third in the points table. So this is certainly a good run for Rob Hanley. He's had all sorts of bad luck this season, but he has had 3 podium finishes, and he's continuing to lead in that AM class now, just about from Rob Hanley in second place. And you say John Getz in third, with Matt Halcombe in the Pro Am car in between that little battle. Kai van Berlo lost more time on that last lap compared to the top 2, but so did Trenton Estep. I'm wondering what happened between those 2.
Yeah, Trenton with a better lap last time around. Kai van Berlo has got the fastest lap in his class. Let's round up a couple of stories. Hutton McKenna didn't start today in the number 88 Wright Motorsport car, the white, yellow and red machine. Alan Metney has pitted after that incident earlier on with Justin Oakes when they came together at the Andretti hairpin. The Nola Sport driver continued in the number 47 car and sits in 4th position, but hasn't really closed down that much on Pedro Torres, who is in 3rd. Battle for 5th position has TJ Fisher with Michael McCarthy right in his wheel tracks at the moment as they go through turn 4 and head towards turn 5. Lee Keane, car was a little bit low in post-race tech yesterday, which lost him his result. And he's in 7th today in that number 12 car. That's the bright red 311 RS machine. Now, problem for Robert Handley is that right ahead of him, as Jeremy mentioned earlier on, is the Premier racing car. That's not in his class, but I do think it's just distracting him a tiny little bit there, and could just be that Adam Adelson from Las Vegas, well, he's actually just broken away, so maybe that's the best thing that could happen if Adam gets a couple of good laps in and pulls away. But it is backing up these cars behind him. John Getz not able to capitalise and get by Matt Holcomb, but he's right there as well. So out of those 5 cars, we have second in line the leader in AM, third in line the second place car in AM, and 5th in line the third place car in AM. And now at the tight left-hander at the end of the lap, it looked to me as though Robert Handley was held up a little bit there, and he didn't get off the corner as well as he was expecting, had to lift off, got a little too close to Adam Adelson, and that was an opportunity there for Mark Kawami, MDK Racing, his Mark's Racing team.
Yeah, Adelson seems to struggle a little bit there under braking for the Mario Andretti hairpin, and that enables Robert Handley to close right in, but then Adelson, he's just making sure he gets a good launch off the corner, so he then pulls away a little bit when they get onto the next straight and around turn 3. That car is working well, but it's certainly a great battle between this train of cars battling for what is 17th position, overall.
At the front of the field, it's still only half a second, and Van Berlo's closed back in 2.6 seconds, so he is coming down just a little bit, and with still 15 minutes to go, there's plenty of time for the young Dutchman who leads the championship to get back on terms with the leader, especially if they start having a fight. And there's fights going on behind Trenton Estep at the moment, and that is for 5th position. TJ Fisher defending in the top racing car, the silver car with the red front and the blue hindquarters. Michael McCarthy in the Kelly Moss car with the pink accoutrement. It's not blue, I don't know where I got that from. He is in the number 7 car, and sitting in behind Fisher, Lee Keen's right there in the mostly red. Actually, he is still there as the leaders go past traffic. Didn't get in the way as they came down the hill. And here comes Kai van Berlo, down to just over 2 seconds away. Barely, in fact, not even a car's length between the first two as they come to the line now, Jeremy, with 14 minutes exactly on the clock.
Yeah, they are so closely matched, these two, aren't they? And Parker Thompson, he's just driving as fast as he thinks he needs to make sure there's no room past for Riley Dickinson. And Dickinson gets alongside him going through the Marandraghi hairpin, but he knows that Parker Thompson has the preferred line coming on the exit, and then Parker defends that inside line going to turn 3. So Dickinson's car is working really, really well at these stages, and he's going to try his hardest to find a way past that JDX car ahead of him, car number 9, the Canadian Parker Thompson.
This is music to the ears for the chasing driver, Kai van Berlo. Jeremy was spot on. There was some kind of incident between Van Berlo and Estep. It's been looked at by race control. We'll keep you informed of what is going on there, as race control have far more opportunities and looks at it than we will have. Side by side for that 5th position.
Yeah.
Michael McCarthy goes from attack to defence because he loses a position to Lee Keen, and he says thanks very much. Moves up into 6th behind TJ Fisher. It was McCarthy and Fisher side by side through turn 5. Killed their momentum. There's going to be a touch at the top of the hill, surely. No, somehow it is avoided by TJ and Lee Keen. But these three battling for 5th, 6th and 7th. No quarter asked or given. Great opportunist manoeuvre, as you'd expect from the highly experienced 311 RS driver in the bright red number 12, Lee Keen.
Yeah, really good driving there by both of those two. TJ Fisher, he's clearly struggling compared to the 4 cars ahead of him. He's losing a second per lap to the leaders. Meanwhile, Parker Thompson's last lap was 1:27.9. And we talked about him a little while ago. He was turning consistent laps around 26.6. Then it was 27.0. Now it's high 27s for Parker Thompson. Ryan Dickinson is, he's stuck behind him, so he can't find a way past. But Kai van Berlo, he's a little bit faster, last lap, a half a second faster on that last lap for the 3rd placed car.
Keep my eye on the race control. I'm ears on the race control channel to see if there's anything comes out from that review. By the way, earlier on we had that incident between Alan Metney and Justin Oakes. Alan Metney was assessed for avoidable contact there, and had he continued he would have had to serve a drive-through. Now you might ask, why has race control done that when the car is sitting in the pit lane not going anywhere? That is their way of, and I think rightly, sending a message to that driver and indeed to the whole field, Jeremy, that whilst we're not suggesting that Alan did that on purpose, it's not acceptable. It would have been called, in fact was called, a penalty, and the fact that Alan's car is in the pits not going anywhere doesn't make any difference. It's still got to be called.
Yeah, indeed, and you're right, they're sending the message there. It will not be tolerated driving like that, and that is why that penalty has been called. As you say, no effect on this race, but it lays down a marker for next time out. Now there's traffic here for the race leaders. This is critical time for Parker Thompson, and indeed possibly for Riley Dickinson and Kai van Berlo behind him.
So they're coming through the traffic with Van Berlo now, as Jeremy says, right back to them. It's been a good few laps for the Dutchman since that incident with Estep, and still waiting to find out if that draws a penalty for either of them. Someone's pulled up right in front of the leaders. That's Cironi, Marco Cironi, the Mark Motors driver in the number 84, as the leaders stream past one of the back markers into the corkscrew. Van Berlo must think he's got an opportunity here with just under 10 minutes, still just under 10 minutes to go. We're talking about 6 or 7 laps here as Marco Cironi goes from one side of turn 6 to the other, but does get it pointing in the right direction. That was right in front of the leaders, dust and dirt everywhere but Thompson, Dickinson and Van Berlo in that order did get through that area. Wow, this is action-packed again, Jeremy, and this is another good drive from Van Berlo. He's clearly got pace in that car today, pace that frankly, Jeremy, the young Dutchman didn't have yesterday. Come back to that thought in a moment, because we've had a change of position for fifth. TJ Fisher has been off the road, and that is going to let Lee Keane and Michael McCarthy go through. In fact, Lee was already through, and TJ was ushered off the road there at turn 10 by number 7, that's Michael McCarthy. Forceful driving there. Dimi Demakos has gone through, as well as, who was that behind? Was that the top racing car, the number 77 of Travis Wiley? Yes, it was behind them.
Yeah, they'd all closed up there, that little group with Demakos and Wiley as well. But Wiley had been moving up quite nicely in that car, number 77. He'd made a couple of positions, and he's right with that battle now, staying right with Dimitri Demakos. It's a youngster from Texas in car number 77, just 18 years of age. He is the youngest driver in the pro category. From Austin, Texas. He's done some spec Miata before, some karting, and that's about it. So
wow.
Given his relative lack of experience, Travis Wiley in that car number 77 for Top Racing, once again doing a nice job.
Well, he's doing an extraordinary job. It's a big jump from any of those forms of racing into 500 plus horsepower with these purpose-built race cars. These cars, remember, did not start as street cars and get converted. These are motorsport shells that are taken, the shells are taken, they don't get to the line. They have some of the components fitted, but then they are taken off the line and sent to the motorsport division to be finished at Weissach, and they have been very busy doing that, because they've turned out a lot of these in the last 18 months, getting on for 2 years now. This is the second year of the championship. 5 championships got them last year in the inaugural year of the 992 GT3 Cup car. More coming online this year, and more than 30 here in the States. We had 20 last year. Jeremy.
And here's a change as they come out of the hairpin. Adelson still leads this group, but ahead of Adelson is Robert Hanley, who's found his way past on that last lap, and he's already beginning to stretch his lead now over Adelson, and more particularly Mark Kawami, who tries to go around the outside of Adelson at the Marandretti hairpin. That's a bold move from Mark Kawami. It looks like he's going to pull it off.
He's done it.
Brilliant move by Mark Kawami, the team principal at MTK Motorsports there. The AM Championship leader, pole sitter, but he can see ahead of him now. Already made his escape by 15-20 car lengths is Robert Hanley, but now Adelson fights back into turn 4. Great stuff between these two.
Well, this is big news at the front of the field. Drive-through penalty for Michael McCarthy, for Kelly Moss Racing, for just ushering off the number 58 of TJ Fisher. That was incident responsibility, and therefore he'll have to come through. That means he's going to have to give up that 6th position that he's fought so hard for. It was, as we said at the time, fairly robust driving from Michael McCarthy, involved in that incident yesterday with Efren Castro when he was in the door of Efren and kept his foot in. And he's been called for it in this race. So McCarthy will drop out of that battle, and everyone behind moves up 1. In Pro-Am, we haven't talked about it for a while. Efren Castro still leads by a couple of seconds from Kurt Swearingen in second. Pedro Torres still in 3rd position for ACI Motorsports. And Justin Oakes, after being spun around by Metney earlier on in the race, is still in 4th position, recovering there, getting that car, Nola Sport Drone Works car, pointing in the right direction, trying to close down on Torres, not doing that to any great extent at the moment.
Now just 5 minutes remaining in this 40-minute race, John, and that battle at the front is still going on, as the battle further down the field as well. This has been a tremendously exciting race, and Efren Castro isn't too far ahead of Kurt Swearingen. Nope. In the that's the battle now for the lead in in Pro-Am, of course.
Into the pits for Michael McCarthy to serve his drive-through for that avoidable contact. Incident responsibility with TJ Fisher at the front of the field. Parker Thompson for JDX Racing in the Shell top-up car. Still leads. McCarthy off the pit lane speed limiter and down towards the inside line. The pit lane speed limit has ended, but you can't just rejoin the track there at one of the fastest parts. You've got to go around on an inside line of the Andretti hairpin, and he drops back in where I reckon he's lost a handful of places there, hasn't he? I think he's dropped in just in front of that battle with Rob Handley and Mark Kawami, actually. And that's dropped him down to 11th position, possibly 12th. Depends where Michael McCann is in the number 8. I think he's behind Michael McCann. Yes, he is. So he's dropped down to 12th position in class. He was 6th. 3 minutes and 20 seconds to go. So that's a couple of laps after the end of this one. And we're still looking at a great run at the front of the field from Parker Thompson in Am, Robert Hamley and Mark Kawame. Just split up a little bit now. A couple of seconds between those two. The white and grey car is the leader in class. Then Mark Kawame. Then Matt Holcomb is the Pro-Am 5th place car, the number 55. John Getz has just dropped away a little bit from that battle.
Yeah, only because he's got Adam Adelson, I think, between them and holding up perhaps John Getz at this stage, because Adelson, I think, is struggling now with that number 24 Premier Racing car and slipping back. He's lost a couple of positions, but meanwhile out front, Parker Thompson looks a bit slightly larger lead. It has been for most of the race. It's got to be 8 or 9 car lengths now over the second place car, Riley Dickinson, with a similar margin back to Kai van Berlo in 3rd. And the lap times for Parker Thompson, again, consistent. The last couple within a couple of thousandths of a second. Going to come across the line now. It's a 1:27.974. So another couple of, another tenth or two away from what he had been doing in the previous lap. But he could do sort of high 27s, maybe even low 28s at the moment, compared to the 1:26s earlier on in this race. The fastest lap of the race that has been set, and that is worth a championship point, was a 1:25.9 very early on by Kai van Berlo.
Quick shout out to Tom Collingwood in the BGB number 69 as the leaders were coming out of the corkscrew last time around. He pulled all the way over to the left-hand side and did everything bar stop to let them through. Did it safely, though, and let all 3 of them through as well. Heads-up driving by the BGP Motorsports driver. It's Carl Washington who will be the next to go a lap down in the GMG number 32. That one you can't miss. It's half blue, half yellow. The 3 leaders will have this lap and one more. They'll see the white flag next time by.
Yeah, just looking back, not too far back down the road, is Efri Castro still leads in Pro-Am in 11th position overall in car number 65, but right with him now is Kurt Swearingen, and also right with Kurt Swearingen in car number 17 are Michael McCann in car number 8 and Michael McCarthy, who is trying to fight his way back after that pit stop. Was that the white flag there for Parker Thompson? Yes, it was. So 27 laps down, just 1 to go, and he leads now on this lap as he crosses the start-finish line by a second, almost a second. That's the biggest margin he's had it all the way through this race. Yeah,
Michael McCarthy, after that drive through, as Jeremy said, fighting his way back, he did drop down to 12th behind Michael McCann. As I thought at the time, he's trying desperately to get some extra points for himself and for Kelly Moss Road and Race. The 3 leaders then on their final run around the 2 1/4 miles. They've already eaten up about a mile of it as they're starting to climb the hill, and they are still separated by round about a second and a half, and a second of that is between Parker Thompson and Riley Dickinson. Not the worst result for Kai van Berlo. It's good championship points for the man who came into this weekend leading the championship. The young Dutchman will take the points that were available It didn't look great yesterday for him, and the number 3 Kelly Moss car just didn't seem to have the pace. Well, whatever they've done overnight has changed that. Traffic ahead of the leader now with 2 corners to go. Kyle Washington in the blue and yellow GMG Porsche at turn 11 has the lead. 3 behind him. There's a whole gaggle of cars. Don't think they're going to come into play. To the left-hand side of the road, it's a perfect double for Parker Thompson and JDX Racing. They take 2 from 2 here on the Monterey Peninsula. Riley Dickinson in second brings a 2-3 home for Kelly Moss Road and Race, with Trent Nestep just off the podium for MDK Motorsport in fourth. Lee Keane will be 5th, heading up a 2-car 311 RS finish in 5th and 6th, with his teammate Dimitri Demakos in 6th. In Pro-Am, here comes Efren Castro. Not the race he wanted yesterday, but will this kickstart his season as he comes home to take the Pro-Am category in 11th overall? 3/4 of a second between him and Kurt Swearingen for ACI Motorsports, the number 17, and Pedro Torres will come home in 3rd. In Am, it's not over yet for Robert Handley, coming down the hill out of the corkscrew. 2 corners to go, and Mark Kawame is right there. 2, maybe 2.5 Porsches lengths between them, down to the final opportunity, the final braking area. Kawame shows his nose, can't get it done, but he did make the leader defend a little bit, and then he couldn't get the power on. So Kawame will come through in second. It will be Robert Handley for JDX who takes the Am category from Kawame in second, and it'll be John Getz who comes through in 3rd for the Am category. And at the front of the field, good points this weekend for Parker Thompson. 2 race victories. That's superb for him and for JDX Racing for the championship, Jeremy.
Yes, indeed it is. And now that gap between 1st and 2nd in the championship down to 21 points unofficially. Kai van Berlo ahead of Parker Thompson. A great weekend sweep for JDX Racing and Parker Thompson. So still only 2 teams have won in the Porsche Carrera Cup North America, but they are battling it out between them right now. JDX Racing and Kelly Moss have 2nd and 3rd today. Trenton Essep has to settle for 4th, but that was a really exciting race. Once again, a brilliantly judged victory by the Canadian Parker Thompson.
Not so bad today for Kai van Berlo. The Dutchman retains his championship lead. 6 races down, 2 crackers here on the West Coast in nigh on perfect racing conditions. But once again, Parker Thompson, the Canadian, is victorious for JDX Racing. Congratulations to Efren Castro, who gets his first win on the season for the 65 car in Am, and Robert Handley, who comes home at the head of the Am category. Castro and Pro-Am, Am for Handley. We'll be back for the next one. Thanks to Jeremy Shaw. Bye-bye now.